Welcome back to the workshop and welcome to part 3. As you can see, I've made up a second one of the handles, identical to the first, exactly the same procedure. 10 minutes or so work and knocked another one of those out. It's surprising how much quicker it is to do a job. Alright, once you've done one, you know, you've got your plan, but when you're not filming it, it's shocking. Anyway, I've decided to stick with the brass theme, so I'm going to make the nuts out of brass. I've got a 1/2 inch brass up here in the chuck, got it sticking out sort of 50mm odd. Won't be using anything like that amount of it. Just face the end as you saw, and we'll stick a little centre drill in it. Oh, there we are. And that's now ready to put a centre in. So I think we'll get a centre in there. We'll take a light skim across the surface just to clean it up. So I'll do that in this hit here. Let's get rid of that centre drill, I should say. Put a running centre in. There's a bit of rust on this as well, look. Hey ho, always something I got to do. We'll give that a polish. There we go. Nope. Still got my compound set on 20 degrees here. Whether you can see that there, you just about make it out. So basically just taking a 1/2 inch bar and taking a skim across the surface. And I think the first job we'll do is to put a knurl on these nuts. I'll do one knurl, do them both at the same time, I think. Shall I? Yeah, why not? So, we bring that out of the way. As you can see, that's just cleaned up the OD. So up with the knurling tool and we'll put a knurl on it. So I got the knurling tool up, squared it up, just put a bit of WD-40 on it. Again, I'll do a fine knurl again. Wind the knurling tool in. That's both the wheels spinning, a little bit of pressure. I'm going to gauge the feed here. I probably want about, I don't know, let's say 40mm knurl on the end. Bit more. That'll do. Bit more pressure. And feed it back the other way. Hasn't got to be particularly deep, just something to give a bit of finger grip to tighten up the nut on the collar. I'll just feed that back and forth a couple of times. I'm not going to make this a video all about knurling, especially as I'm using a completely inappropriate knurling tool. But you make work what you got sometimes. Shifty at that. Yeah, I got a bit of a double start going on there. Sometimes you'll find it in knurl pattern. You'll have like 2 knurls going the one way and only one going the other. Normally you'll find you just take another cup, get it a bit deeper maybe, and it all comes back to where it should be. It's all to do with the pitch of the knurl teeth on the wheels in relation to the circumference of the part that you're knurling. But what you find is, when you are knurling, you're changing the diameter of the part that you're knurling, and it sort of finds a spot somewhere along the way where there's an equal amount of teeth in relation to the sort of rolling circumference of the part that you're knurling, and they all line up and your diamonds come back to proper diamonds again. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is happy days. I'm going to give that a clean off again. I'll do the same as I did when I knurled the body, so I'll just give it a spray with a bit of brake clutch cleaner here. Just gets that grime out of it. Oop. And fill it full of paper towel instead. All the little bits of aluminium, losing the plot here. Little bits have come out the knurl. And that's the knurl done. So I've done the knurl for both of them in one hit. I'm just measuring up the end here, and I'm getting to where the taper starts. About 5.2 on that one, which makes sense because I got a 4.2 hole and I wanted to leave about a mil. Yeah, about 5.2. So I think what I'll do is the smallest hole, I want that to be able to fit the very end of the taper right flush down into the taper. So I think I'll do like a 5.4 hole, something like that in the nut. And I think that should be somewhere near where I want to be. So I'm going to drill through the two of these with my 5.4 drill. Back up with me chuck, let me just grab the 5.4 drill bit. Should have been prepared for this before I turned the camera on. Never mind. And I want to go through, again, if I say about 40 mil, you're going to be about 20 mil long each, I guess, ish. About 40 mil, so I'll just put a line on my drill. I'll drill it out to about 45 deep, should be more than enough. There we are, little black mark on the drill. And we'll drill it out with a 5.4. Faster than that. Again, I'll have to have a couple of packs of this. Clogging up a bit. There we are, that's up to my black mark. So that's drilled out with a 5.4 drill. So I've come up with a cunning plan, and I'm going to drill this out 15 mil deep with a 6.8 drill. Tapping drill for an M8. And I put a bit of tape on my drill. I think that drill wasn't sharpened. Make an oval racket. There's the 6.8 drill. And that is 15 mil deep. So next step, tap it. So I've got the M8 tap up in the tailstock. Whack the e-stop, whack the winding handle back in. And I'm just using a first tap. And I'm just going to tap this out. That's bottomed out. And say I've got my tailstock loose here. So this is the first. Pop him out. I want to put the second in the plug. Yeah, why not? And a second tap. That's bottomed out. And then we'll put the plug tap in. And that'll give us the threads to near as damn it 15mm deep. Oop. Okay, so my threads are going 15 deep. And I've only got 15mm from the end to there, which theoretically says that when that's fully screwed in and that's flush with the front, or flush with the 15mm, that I'm going to bottom out on the back of the threads. But what I'm going to do is open up this back edge for 5mm to like an 8.2 drill. And that will allow, where are we, the threads to come back down over this plain diameter of 8 which we've got on the shaft, so the nut will actually not be held back by the threads, shall we say. So that's the next step. 5mm drilled in with an 8.2. Let me grab one. There it is. Tell you what, make it 8.3. So I'll just use the rule on my tailstock. Just give myself a touch on the back. Wind that to 40 on my rule. Lock tailstock. Remove the winding handle. And we're going to drill that 5mm. Just holding my rule against the shut. There we are. And that's 5mm deep at 8.3. I think we need a little chamfer on there. We'll sort that out. Oh, a little chamfering bit. What have we got? Is that too big, too small? That's too small. Where's that idea? I'll come back when I can find my larger chamfering bit. I found it was in my drill, in my pillar drill chuck. So, here we are. That chamfered that. So I think we'll have a nice 45 on the end of here, and then we'll part it off. So I need to put the tool post back up. .45 tool. That looks good. A nice 45 on there, like that. So the next step is going to be to part it off, and in a later stage I'll be able to screw that onto an M8 thread to machine the profile on the front. I've got the parting tool up. Just line the leading edge up with the edge of the part, give myself a 0, come across 20mm, that'll do it. Lock my carriage, where's the spanner? There it is. Lock the carriage, and we'll part that off there. Yeah, looks right. It's going to make a bit of a chatter because I'm parting through the knurl. Down to a plain diameter. And that's one off. So as you can see, I've only got about 10mm of knurl left there, but I only want the back end of it knurled, you know, over about 10mm anyway, because the rest of it's going to be tapered down. So I will have enough knurl there. So I've already got the 5.2. I'm going to drill and tap this one exactly the same, and counterboard exactly the same, and then part this one off. Yeah, so I drilled it, tapped it, counterboard it, done the same thing as I did on the last one, and exactly the same, part this one off at 20mm. Okay, so I just put a M8 bolt up in the 3-jaw chuck, and it's running true and it's tight in there, and we're going to use that as a mandrel for turning the OD and the bore, the tapered bore, in these. So I'll just screw that on there, fairly tight, it'll self-tighten. It's throwing a little, but it's nothing drastic. Now my overall length at the moment is 20mm. I've got 5mm of plain diameter at the 5.2 in there. I think that's a bit much, so I'm going to pull 2mm off the end of this. I'll just touch, give myself a 0, and I'm just going to place 2mm off the end. That'll bring my overall to about 18. Just using my DRO for this. There we are, 1.87, and that's 2mm. Okay. Now then, I think I'm going to put a 20-degree taper from that end out to wherever it breaks into the surface. We'll have a look. 20 degree. That's our magic figure that we use for the bore. So we'll do the same on the OD. We'll start with 20 degree and see how we look. Well, we would if I didn't have a load of muck all over the gauge. That's close enough. So I've set my compound over at 20. That's going to match the taper that we're going to have to put on the bore afterwards. Let's just square that tool up, and we'll do a bit of turning of a taper on the end of there and see where we end up. So I'll do that now while we're all in shot. The knurl seems to be running better than the OD. Again, I want to bring this right down. I'll probably leave about 2mm flat. Milliside. That's looking good. I like the look of the angle. See where this runs out. I think I'm going to have a plain diameter on the top with a 45 into the knurl as usual. I think I want to thin that wall down on the end a little. So maybe another half milliside. Normally take my tailstock off out the way when I'm doing this, so let's have a look at that. Bit more. Yeah, that leaves about a mil of wall. Good mil of wall, maybe 60 flower wall either side. I'm just going to run this out until it hits the major diameter. And that's just taking it up and over the knurl. I'm quite happy with how the OD looks on that. Little file, just break that corner, we'll put like a bull nose on it. And now's the tricky bit. I'm going to bore a taper in there at the same angle with a boring bar, tiny little boring bar on the inside to match that angle. And I'll show you the little boring bar I got. I think I've shown it before. So yeah, I got a tiny little boring bar. It's actually an internal like groove cutting tool, but it does fit in this little bore, and I've got this front face set with a slight back angle for the bore. It's a piece of 5/16 Momax, but set it up on centre height, and we're just going to bore out that front from the front face back at the 20-degree taper. This taper is going to break through into the threaded area, but we're still going to have the problem that the thread, I don't want to hit the end of the bolt, I'm very nearly there. I'll call that quits, I think. We're still going to have the problem that the thread on the end of the handle part itself, there we are, job done, is going to bottom out before this front bit comes, so I'm going to have to remove the first few threads off the end of the handles. Slight design flaw, but nothing we can't get over. So what I've had to do is skim the thread back, as you can see, about halfway back to leave about 8mm of thread instead of 15. And then the body of the nut will screw all the way on, and you can see the jaws, or the tapered part, is just meeting in the tapered bore there and just sticking out. A bit looks, you know, when it's got its slits in, it'll look a bit like a 3-jaw chuck, so to speak, but it'll be like a 4 jaws in there. It would screw on further if it hadn't bound out now on that taper. I may just trim the end of that, but I think we'll be absolutely fine as we are. And basically what I've got now, once I've got the slit in, is a collet that will screw on another 2-3mm, which will be more than enough to pull in the what will be claws to do the job. So I need to sort out the other one, get it up to the same point, and then we'll look at putting some hacksaw cuts in. Oh, I hate this bit. Trying to keep it dead central. Very thin wall to start on this. And I want to go down maybe, I suppose, halfway through the thread. We'll try that. We can always go deeper. I'm just holding it in a bit of a rubber mat here. It's nipped in the vise. I don't want to damage the nail. So far so good. Where are we? A bit more. I went a bit further than I thought I was going to go. So we'll split it 90 degrees, do another cut, and hopefully we'll have a working needle file holder. Well, that's it, complete. I'll just show you the end result. So, junior hacksaw grooves, cut right through 90 degrees, so I got 4 slits. Took a bit of fitting and fiddling and getting the thread lengths right and what have you. Right in, nip it up, and that is absolutely solid needle file handle. So I'm quite pleased with those. Yeah, happy days. I may make some more with a smaller bore. They will hold. I've tried them on some other ones. These are 4.2 diameter. I've got some about they look like they're 4mm shaft, and they do grip, but when I try them on the 3mm odd ones, no chance. So I may make some with a, you know, a 3.2 hole up the center for use with smaller needle files, but I tend to use these ones most of the time. So yeah, quite happy with that. We got a pair of them. I've cut them both. They both work. Whoops. Well, they did till I threw that one on the floor. But yeah, happy days. Simple little project, I suppose. You know, it uses lots of different aspects of turning. Fitting is the main thing, just getting the thread length right, you know, getting the taper inside the bore of the nut so that it sits on the taper here, so that when you screw it down, obviously it pulls it in, and it'll pull it in until it runs out of taper, basically. Yeah, happy days. Well, I'm quite pleased with the end result. You know, you can make it any shape you want, but it, as I was saying earlier, it fits nicely in the hand. You've got that knurl there, and you can actually, it gives you a bit of grip if you were, you know, getting into some awkward spots or what have you. So yeah, pleased with them. Something or nothing, but safety first. Whenever I use a needle file from now on, I'll be using it with this handle or the other handle, and I've cut down the likelihood, especially on the lathe, of spiking myself through the palm of the hand when I'm holding a needle file and dressing something in the lathe. So good little project. Keep safe, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you all soon.